You're listening to Spotlight with Joe Cleon. Spotlight. The best and the latest from the SongCast Radio Network. Spotlight. SongCast Radio.
You are streaming the Electronic Spotlight. My name's Joe Cleon, giving you indie music from around the world, commercial-free and free to stream. We have a very special artist to feature on this edition of Spotlight. Say hello to Mr. Richard Myles out of New York, Brighton, New York. How you doing, Richard?
I'm doing great. How are you, sir?
Really good. Very glad to have you on the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your music.
Okay, great. Well, I'm going to have to start all the way back to like 2008. I used to work for the government. I was a lead federal security officer, TSA. And I was there for about 7 years in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I had this dream of producing a feature film, a horror film, because I'm a huge horror buff. And specifically like 80s slasher films like A Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, Friday the 13th, etc. So I was able to share my visions, my dreams with my coworkers. And one specific coworker at the time was very captivated by my desire to produce a feature film and funded the film. We were able to, acquire an investor. We had a budget about over $500,000. It's considered a low budget film. Anyways, Mental Scars is the film. And I wrote the screenplay, the original screenplay. I scored it. And I also played the character David Taggart, the killer, the maniacal killer in the night. So what happened was I hired all these people, never produced a film before. It was shot on 35 millimeter, and it was very scary, a huge undertaking. I had hired or casted Sonny Landham, who co-starred with Arnold Schwarzenegger in the original movie Predator. I casted him as my father, and then I hired a professional crew. Like I had Phil Clark, who was the color correctionist for the Martha Stewart show for 11 years. He was my editor, and then I brought on a DP, Mitchell Lipsner. He's done all these big feature films and commercials with Serena Williams, like all these big stars. So make a long story short, we finished this film, this independent film, and I remember when I was with Phil Clark, who was our editor, he was like, Myles, we have one problem. We have no music. And I was like, oh, shoot, we just ran out of money. Because, when you produce a feature film for the first time, it's a huge undertaking. You don't know what to anticipate. There's a lot of unforeseen costs. So at the end, I was like, dude, I was talking to my former business partner. I'm like, we have no money to hire or to commission a music composer. Like, what do we do? Because you got to have music, right? And sound effects and Foley effects and stuff like that. So my former business partner's like, you're going to get on the Mac computer and you're going to score the film. And I was like, what? And at the time I was very intimidated because I wasn't computer savvy. Like, I didn't even know how to turn on a computer. I was really bad. Asked me or expect me to score the film. It was very, very intimidating, but I was like, you know what? I can't run away, from my fears for the rest of my life. I'm going to have to force myself, get myself on that damn computer and, score the film, like learn how to compose music. So I was composing these little sound bites on GarageBand. Before you know it, it started to expand to actual tracks, and within 2.5 to 3 weeks, I scored the entire film. Don't even ask me how I did it, but I did it. All like horror music, whatever. And so I was really inspired by that. And whenever, we would have interviews about the film Mental Scars, that would always come up because people were just so shocked. Like, they were shocked about producing a feature film for the first time, but they were even more shocked that I was able to score a film in 2.5 to 3 weeks, knowing I had no music experience, never took a course, none of that stuff. And again, didn't even know how to turn on a computer. So that seems to be an inspirational story. It's very, captivating, very intriguing. So after that, I was like, you know what? Music is very interesting to me. Like, I developed like a affinity for it. So then I started to, again, expand, the sound bites to actual tracks, like 3-4 minute tracks. And then I produced my first album, which was entitled Ambient Nights Volume 1. And then moving forward, I just started to just pump out albums one after another. I produced a couple horror albums, which they're theatrical horror scores or, horror tracks for people that are into the macabre. It's very popular during Halloween. And so on my fifth album, which is Ambient Nights Volume 5, Musica de Soul, I was interviewed by Rolling Stone magazine. And you can see the photos on social media. Jody Rosen interviewed me on the album and also my movie, Mental Scars. So moving forward, I had another track, which was from my seventh album, Ambient Nights Volume 7, and it's State of Mind. I have a track, it's Sexual Confessions. It's my first track that I had like the most vocals on it because I have vocal loops that I re-engineered. And it hit number 1 for 8 straight weeks on CD Baby. As an independent artist, I was shocked. So, I just love music. Music, it tells you how to feel. It's my escape, I call it. Whenever I'm feeling like depressed or, under the weather, just not in a great mood, music helps me to feel, alive again. I just feel like rejuvenated when I compose music. It is definitely my mental escape. And so my latest album is entitled Ambient Nights Volume 11. Love Hurts, Time Heals. It's basically centered on the theme of, experiencing loss in life, whether it's a relationship, a family member, a coworker, etc., and how you deal with that. We go through the grief period, the depression, the sorrowness, but then at the end, there's a light. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. And with time, that's why it says in the title, with time heals. That's true. The longer, you process what happened, you'll get better at the end. You'll get stronger. And that's what the album, epitomizes is loss, coping, and grief. And I'm very proud of this album. It's one of my most sentimental albums ever. And then, there's the other 2 albums before that, Ambient Nights Volume 10, You Belong to Me, deals with love as well. A lot of these the last couple albums are dealing with love, and many of us can relate to it, the trials and tribulations.
What took you from doing horror music to writing songs about love?
That's a good question. I just feel as an artist, I'm very eclectic, and a lot of it has to do with my mood. Like if I'm in a dark mood, in a Halloween mood, I write horror music. When I'm in a loving mood, I write love music. When I'm in a dance, hip hop or whatever kind of mood, I write that kind of music. It just depends on my state of mind. All my tracks are like a reflection of the different things that I go through, like the repertoire that I go through in life. That's the best way to describe it. They are a reflection of that.
We will move into your latest release, Ambient Nights Volume 11, in a little bit. But first of all, let's go back a couple albums to Ambient Nights Volume 9, They Live Among Us. Who is they that are living among us?
Oh my God, that's a good question. Well, I'm a psychic. For those that didn't know, I'm a world-renowned psychic reader. I've been doing this for about 14 years. I give psychic readings, and also I do mediumship where I can talk to the dead if they come through the reading. And I have over 3,600 clients and over 1,000 testimonials on Facebook. So I'm all over the place. That specific title is exactly that. It's talking about forces that live amongst us, whether they're good, bad, or indifferent. And that album reflects that. And the specific track, They Live Among Us, that's where it comes from, is just the things, the dynamics, the spiritual vibes and aura, not auras I'm looking for, but the spiritual forces that are around us can enhance our lives or it can cause destruction. It just depends, But that album is a reflection of that specific mindset.
Real quick, before we go into a couple of tracks off of that album, first of all,
Sure.
where could people find out about booking you for a psychic reading? And second of all, where can people find that movie, Mental Scars, where they can check it out online?
Okay, well, Mental Scars, I believe it's still on Amazon. You can rent it. Also, if somebody's interested, I still have, I think, about maybe 200 DVDs left. They're autographed DVDs. They can, hit me up on Facebook, inbox me, and they can order an autographed copy, and I would, ship it to them because I've been doing that for years because I had thousands of copies, but I have maybe about 200 left. And they can do it that way, or they can go through Amazon to buy the movie or rent it. So that's where they can go for that. In terms of the psychic readings, I'm on Facebook. My page is Richard Myles, Psychic Counselor. And
that's just so people know, that's M-Y-L-E-S, Richard Myles.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Yes, it's M-Y-L-E-S. So it's Richard Myles with a comma, Psychic Counselor. So if you go on Facebook, again, you'll see me. Again, I have about 1,200 testimonials from all over the world. Some are celebrities. I've given celebrities readings before. There's a lot of video testimonials as well, but you'll be quite inspired by my work as a reader. Very accurate, very powerful reading. So that album that you're referring to, They Live Amongst Us, it was inspired by my gift as a psychic reader.
So there's two different versions of a song called Love Beyond the Universe, an ecstasy version and a regular version. What is the difference?
Okay, so the original version, it's more of a slow groove. I call it like lovemaking music, very peaceful. When I wrote that song, what came to mind is a beautiful, serene scene, like on an ocean, and you're like on a yacht, maybe having a couple of drinks, and being close to the person that you love, and you're just holding each other, loving each other. It's one of those tracks. It's a love-making track, very sensual, in a classy, professional way, but a very sensual track. But it's something that it's more intimate, where two people can just love each other on a boat, or just in a very sacred place. And just that song, that's where that comes from. That song is inspired by that scene that I had in my mind, those visuals. The other track is more of a dance, techno, fast pace, because I love that song so much. A lot of fans will inbox me like, "Oh my God, that track is great. Can you make another version of it?" I was like, "Sure." I listen to my fans. I'm very receptive to feedback. I don't always listen to everything that people tell me, but sometimes, I'll listen to something like, that actually sounds like a great idea. Like, I'm very receptive. I just extract what I think is going to behoove me as an artist. And I was like, why not? It's a great track. I'll make another version of it, a faster pace, more upbeat, and that's exactly what I did. And it's funny because between those two songs, the ecstasy version is my favorite one. The first one is still beautiful because I wouldn't have, place it on the album if I didn't think so. But the second one, there's something that's a little extra special about it. And I'm sure listeners would agree, and some may disagree. But that's the difference between the two. The first one is more intimate. The second one is a faster pace. It's special, but it's more of just a dance track, but taking some of the tenets from the original.
Well,
track.
I would play the original one, but I'm afraid people would turn off the radio and would go make love. So we're not going to do that. So we'll play the ecstasy version. So here it is. Let's check it out. Let's turn it up.
Okay.
This is Love Beyond the Universe. This is Richard Myles, featured artist on the Electronic Spotlight. True music discovery on SongCast.
Yeah.
That was Love Beyond the Universe, the ecstasy version from our featured artist, Richard Myles. You are listening to the Electronic Spotlight. Richard Myles, a very prolific songwriter, over 200 tracks here with SongCast. And I would like to encourage you, if you like what you hear, go online, support hardworking artists like Richard Myles. You can buy his tracks on Amazon, on Apple Music, put them on your phones, play them in the car, share them with your friends and family, turn people on to this eclectic indie musician. You can also stream on Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, lots of ways that you can support indie music, and none of them cost much. So make sure you go on and support Richard Myles. Let's get into another track, Richard, from that Ambient Nights Volume 9 release. How about Yearning to Be With You? What do you have to say about that one?
Oh, that's a very personal, deep track. So many of us go through, the pain of being in love. Some of us, it's kind of like the forbidden fruit. It's somebody that we want, but something separates you. It could be distance, it could be family, it could be friends, the negative influences. But there's one particular person that I had in mind when I wrote the track that was very special to me, and still is special to me, even it's been many years. And I always feel like we get close, but then something separates us. And that's where that track comes from. It's that constant reminder of how special this person is in my life. So yes, I met this person in school. I won't say who it is. Keep the mystery, right? Keep the mystery going. But it's somebody that, is very special to me that I wish I should have married and I didn't, but I still think about the person, and I know that person still thinks about me as a reader. I know the person does. So it's like this constant, we're always like playing cat and mouse, hard to get type thing. It's just a strange dynamic, but I wrote that song because I was inspired by this person.
Let's get into it. This is Yearning to Be With You from the release Ambient Nights Volume 9. It's Richard Myles, featured artist on the Electronic Spotlight here on SongCast.
Discover indie music from around the world. SongCast Radio.
You are listening to the Electronic Spotlight here on SongCast. Our featured artist is Richard Myles, and Richard is on the phone with us. We're going to move forward an album to Ambient Nights Volume 10, You Belong to Me. Tell me a little bit about that record and kind of what inspired you to put that selection of tracks together.
So that song is basically an extension of the previous song, Yearning to Be With You, is that, again, this person, you know, we play the cat and mouse. It is just hilarious, you would think, at my age and this person's age that we would know better, but we still do it. And I just wanted the person to know, because the individual is still single, and I'm single as well, that you belong to me, you know? We should stop the nonsense, stop the games, and just make it happen, you know? But I think we're both afraid of each other. You know, that's what love does sometimes, you know? Love can be a very powerful emotion, and that's what happens is sometimes the person you want, you're afraid to be with the person because the emotions are so powerful you don't know what to do. Like, it's kind of like picking up a person from the country and dropping them in the middle of New York City, and they don't know what to do. That may be a strange analogy, but it's very similar to that. It's like you think about this person all the time, but if you're in the same room, you wouldn't even know what to do. So that's where that track comes from.
Here it is, You Belong to Me, Richard Myles on SongCast. That is a great track called You Belong to Me. Richard Myles, our featured artist on the Electronic Spotlight. That track comes from Volume 10, You Belong to Me. That would be Ambient Nights, Volume 10. And if people want to find you on social media, where can they find you?
They can find me on Facebook. It's Richard Myles, Myles. And you'll see it's me because it says movie producer next to my name, and also psychic reader. I'm also on SoundCloud. It's, again, Richard Myles with a Y, L-E-S. And where else am I? I'm on YouTube. Instagram is Richard Myles 4747. And that's about it. I have Twitter, but I don't really spend a lot of time on Twitter. But those platforms, Facebook is my number one platform. I've been on there for years. That's where I do most of my promotions and marketing, but also Instagram and, of course, SoundCloud and YouTube.
Let's move into another track from Ambient Nights Volume 10, one called Loving You. What do you have to say about that one?
Loving You, like I said before, this person had such an effect on my life. It's just insane how many songs are inspired by this person. It's part of that, but also Loving You is just a general, theme where, people show love for one another. It's not just lovers, but also parents and their children, siblings, for one another, friends. It's just showing the diversity of love. In the video, I just actually produced a professional video the other day because I've been kind of behind and I've been meaning to do this on this particular album. What I love about being an independent artist is I don't have to answer to anyone because I manage myself. And sometimes, I kind of operate out of sequence. I released the album last October 2021, and that was one specific video that I just didn't have time to, do it justice, So now, recently, I put together, edited a professional video, but the video is very diverse. It shows, straight love, gay love, love between parents and their children, siblings, friends. It's just showing the broad scope of love. That's where that track comes from. It's kind of an R&B/jazz vibe to it. It's very beautiful, very sexy, very sensual. It's a very easy listening track. Like when you listen to it, it's like you just want to fall asleep. It's just very relaxing.
And the video is on your YouTube page?
It's on my YouTube and also my Facebook as well.
And let's check out the track. This is Loving You, Richard Myles, featured artist on the Electronic Spotlight, True Music Discovery on SongCast. That was You Belong to Me from Ambient Nights Volume 10, You Belong to Me. Music from Richard Myles, the featured artist here on the Electronic Spotlight. I know that a lot of your tracks kind of bounce between genres. Is that something that you consciously do, or when a song comes, it just goes in that direction, kind of unconsciously?
That is a great question. I would say it's a mix of both. Sometimes a track is inspired by my current mood, or it could be an exploratory track where I just start playing around with different sounds. And before you know it, I have this masterpiece of like, oh, wow, this is really cool. And then I'll title it after I put all these sounds and, music stems together. A lot of times, like I said, it's omnidirectional. It could either be my mood that I'm in, or I could just be exploratory, just try different sounds. And at the end, I come up, with the resultant product. And that is, it may be a horror track, and if it is, I save that track for a different album. So I was telling you earlier that I have about 100 tracks I have not released yet because they're in those other folders, I call it, and I put that in quotes. So that's what I do. Like if it's a track that I know that, okay, I like it, it sounds great, but it's not going to be appropriate for this album, then I'll place it in a different folder for a future album.
You seem like such a prolific songwriter. Do you ever have writer's block?
Believe it or not, this last album, I had a couple writer's block when it came to The Sacred Feline, the one that you really like. And the other one is, the other one is Under a Love Spell. Those two, I had, for some reason, some challenges. And at first I was going to scrap them or just put it on hold. But then I was like, no, something told me you need to finish them. And I did, and they came out to be great tracks. But that sometimes happens. It doesn't happen often, thank God, because I'm very creative with my music. Like I try to incorporate many different sounds. So this is why when people ask, how do you describe your music? Yeah, it's kind of ambient, techno, dance, etc. But it's kind of like an amalgamation of different genres all into one. So it takes tenets from jazz, R&B, ambient, techno, dance. It's all of that into one. Like it's my own little creative style. So when people listen to my music, a lot of times they don't know how to categorize it because it's hard to, because it's very eclectic. A lot of my music is very eclectic. So that's how I would answer that question, is that when I experience like writer's block, I just kind of either put the project on hold or take a little break from it and then go back into it. It's like a painting. Sometimes you got to take a little break and then you go back into it, and then, you can finish it the way you want to. But that's what happens. But this particular album, I had 2 tracks that are more like darker and scarier, and I basically put them in a different folder because it wouldn't be appropriate for this album. So that's what happens sometimes with me.
When was the latest release, Ambient Nights Volume 11, released?
Okay, so it was released, so what is it now, January 25th? What's the date today?
26.
Okay, so it was released a week ago, but I had to take the album down because I noticed some writers go through this, or music composers go through this. It's a very common thing. Even with the bigger artists, I was shocked. When I was listening to some of their music, I noticed there was some glitches, like either there was some distortion issues, or they try to avoid, let's say, a certain instrument, but I still can hear it, so it wasn't completely muted. So when I heard all those things, I was like, wait a minute, so I'm human too, so I don't feel bad when I make mistakes, but I noticed when I released it a week ago, there was a song, it's Love Me in the Rain, which I reprised from my third album. I basically brought new life to it by removing all the beats. It's just synth chords, strings, and Gregorian chants. So when you hear it, there's really no beats on it. So I noticed that since it is a high-pitched song, it kind of sounds a little distorted, like when you turn off the volume, and I didn't like that, and I'm very perfectionistic when it comes to my music. So I wanted to replace that track, but then I was told, based on the work that it'll take to do that, I'm just better off just re-uploading the whole album. So I figured, you know what, since I'm going to do that, let me fix a couple other tracks. So I fixed the Sacred Feline. There was a instrument that I didn't like that I removed, so it's a music stem that I removed from that track. I retweaked Love Me in the Rain. And then also I added a bonus track, I Want to Be Your Fantasy. That's the first track, but then some fans inbox and like, Myles, we really love that song because it's getting a buzz already on social media with the video that I put together. But like, can you produce another version of it? Because they know they've been fans of mine for years. They're very loyal fans. They know sometimes I'll have an after hours version or like an extended version, a mix, whatever. So I did. I added an erotic hypnosis version, which is, I believe, the last track on the album or second from last. But so I'm glad I was able to re-upload the album because I was able to send out a better copy, an improved album. So I just uploaded it about 3 days ago. So it should be on iTunes today or in the next couple of days. But you should see it there, ladies and gentlemen.
The one thing that really struck me before I even heard any of the music from this record is the album cover. Tell me about how that came about.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I'm so glad you brought that up because my business partner will kill me if I don't give him some props here. So the last three albums, they're all my work, but my business partner, his name is Arthur Pep Anastasia, long Greek name. He did all the editing of the album cover, so he put all the verbiage on there, all the the title and stuff. Put Viper Productions. He did all of the editorial stuff. It's a beautiful cover. I've gotten so much positive feedback. It actually comes from WordSwag. It's an app that you can download on your phone that has all these beautiful high resolution photos of just various things, spiritual photos, nature, you name it. And I saw that photo and it just instantly captivated me. I mean, there was three that I chose, and between the three, Arthur and I both chose that one because it's just something about it. It's such a beautiful scene when you can have a really bad day. Let's say you lost your job or you're having relationship problems or whatever, health issues. When you look at that photo, it is I don't know how to explain it, as memorizing. It's like hypnotic in some kind of way. Like when you look at it, it puts you in this trance, like in a very peaceful, serene trance. It's very calming. It's very relaxing. When you see it, it's like your mental escape. It's like that's your place you want to be when you're going through rough times. And that photo, that cover is my favorite cover out of all of my albums. There's something that's really special about it. And I want to give props to Arthur Pep Anastasia for, helping me to select that photo out of the other options that we had, and also the editorial work that he did. So thank you, Arthur. So
the cover just draws you in and makes you want to listen to the music that's represented by that cover.
Absolutely. It's, and that's one thing I've learned throughout the years is album covers and videos help you to, captivate new listeners. It helps to put your work out there and inspires people to want to listen to your music, to learn more about you. Because a lot of times when people hear music, they don't, see the bigger picture. Like I mentioned before about Madonna's Vogue track, it was originally a side B track, and it became one of her most iconic tracks ever. Because sometimes people don't have the vision. They don't see what you're seeing until you put it in a video format. So this is why I produce a lot of videos for my music, so people can see what I'm thinking when I produce the track, and also the album cover. The album cover has to have a certain captivating quality to it to draw people in, to inspire them to want to listen to your music and to explore other things that you're doing. You had mentioned a track from the latest release, Ambient Nights Volume 11, Love Hurts, Time Heals, a track called I Want to Be Your Fantasy. Is that about this same mystery woman that you've been talking about? Yes, it is, sir. I knew it. Yeah, I told you I can't get her off my mind. It's like she's on my mind 24/7. Yes. Does she know that you've written all these songs about her? She does, yeah. Yep, she knows me very well. We know each other. That's what's so interesting. Is like we're soulmates that never met. It's one of those deals. And it just, I don't know, sometimes it's more special knowing that, okay, she's thinking what I'm thinking, and like we can kind of read each other's mind. But we're not saying anything to one another, but we can read each other's mind. And so she knows a lot of this music is inspired by her. Oh, for sure.
Let's get into it. From the latest release, Ambient Nights, Volume 11, Richard Myles, I Want to Be Your Fantasy. Indie music on SongCast.
SongCast Radio.
That was I Want to Be Your Fantasy, the latest from Richard Myles. If you like what you hear, once again, buy tracks from this eclectic, amazing indie artist. Pick them up on Amazon, on Apple Music, stream on Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube. You can also check Richard out on various places online. Give us once again your social media where people can find you.
Sure. You can find me, ladies and gentlemen, on Facebook. It's Richard Myles with a Y, L-E-S, and you'll see I have a significant amount of followers. You'll see that it says movie producer, psychic medium, and my title, so you know it's me. I'm also on Instagram. It's Richard Myles 4747. Also on SoundCloud, Richard Myles 4747. Oh, and YouTube too, Richard Myles 4747.
You do a lot of videos for tracks that you produce, don't you?
I do, and originally I had my former business partner make videos, but since we're no longer, together, we no longer have a company together, I'm basically managing myself. And so, sometimes when you have a business partner, you kind of complement one another. Like I would compose the music and promote, and he would do the videos. And I was very intimidated, as I mentioned earlier, about anything related to computers, composing music, videos. Oh my God, to produce a video was extremely intimidating. And I wouldn't say I didn't have a desire to learn. I wanted to, but I just was intimidated by all the things you need to know about Final Cut, Avid, all these different, movie making platforms. There's a lot to know. And I'm the type of person, I'm very impatient. That's one little foible that I have is I'm very impatient. I expect to master something in one day. And I realize at my age, I'm like, listen, stop being perfectionistic. You can't master most things in one day. It takes time, right? So I've learned to, be more patient, because patience is a virtue. And since I no longer had this business partner, I wanted to learn how to produce videos myself, because the bottom line is if you pay people, it can get very expensive, and I'm an independent artist. So I was like, you know what? I want to be a jack of all trades. I want to produce my own music, and I want to produce my own videos. And so I learned how to produce my own videos like 3 or 4 years ago. And I've already now produced about over 30 videos.
Wow.
I know. It's weird, because whenever I tell people this, they're always shocked about how many tracks I have released, which you said before, 200, but they don't realize that I actually have another 100 that I haven't released. So I have about over 300 tracks of music. Most of them are released. Others are not. They're placed on the back burner for future projects and videos. Just like my music, I produce them in large volume, and I've released over 30 professional videos. And when you watch them, you can see they are professional. The stock footage are 4K resolution. I'm a member of Video Vivo. I believe that's how you pronounce it. And all of it's on my music videos. So you can see where I license all the stock footage, but very professionally done. And most of them tell a story. It's a really nice, smooth, copacetic story from beginning, middle, and end. And my one track off of my latest album, Love Hurts, Time Heals, it tells a very, very powerful story. It shows in the beginning of the album people that are grieving loss, like, somebody dying or a relationship. And at the end, as the title suggests, time heals. And then that, they're reliving their lives. Like they're getting over the grief. They're living life to the fullest. They're not allowing their dark past to basically dictate their lives. And that video, epitomizes that sentiment. When you watch it, it's a very powerful video. It may make some people cry, but at the end, you'll smile, because you realize, there is light at the end of the tunnel. It can't rain forever. I always tell people it can't storm forever. Eventually, the sun's going to come out. And that's what this music video and song represents.
Well, I want to thank you, Richard, not only for being part of the SongCast family. We really love our family of worldwide indie artists, but also thanks for hanging out with me on the show and taking us inside this eclectic selection of music that you have. Just such a treasure trove of tunes. It's just really looking forward to digging deeper into your catalog and going back into these 200 tracks.
Awesome. Well, thank you. You've been a great interviewer, and I do want to pay some accolades to SongCast. I've been with SongCast, ladies and gentlemen, for over a decade now, and I would strongly and highly recommend SongCast for any independent music artist. They're professional. I love how they do business. They're very transparent. Whenever I email SongCast, if I have any questions, concerns, they always respond to me within an expedient amount of time, like very quick responses. It's not that they're on my beck and call, but they're very, very communicative, professional, and I'm just honored to be with, all of you for over 10 years. I mean, we've forged this amazing relationship, and I'm just very grateful to be a part of the SongCast family.
Our support staff is fantastic, and we really love to take as good of care of our artists as we can. Again, thank you so much for the great music. We look forward to seeing new stuff, and let's get into this track you were talking about right now. Take us out of the show. It's called Love Hurts, Time Heals. Richard Myles, that's Myles. Buy some tracks, download some tracks from Richard Myles. Support indie music. Once again, this is from his latest release, Ambient Nights Volume 11, just recently released. released Love Hurts, Time Heals. And the track, once again, it's the title track, Love Hurts, Time Heals. Richard Myles on SongCast.
Listen, explore, discover indie music from around the world. Spotlight features all types of indie music: hip-hop, rock, pop, electronic, country, blues, jazz, and more. Spotlight. Listen to thousands of hours of archived indie music anytime, anywhere. Experience Spotlight, the best indie music from around the world. Commercial free and